Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our interview with Paul Valente. Paul is CEO and co-founder of VISO Trust, which is the third-party cybersecurity due diligence platform. Paul was the former CISO with ASAP, Lending Club, and Restoration Hardware. Paul, thank you for joining us today for our Risk Management Show podcast episode.
Boris, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure. Paul, could you tell us a short story about yourself, your career path, what brought you to where you are now, and maybe what you guys at VISO Trust are up to these days?
Well, I got to start a few decades ago as a technology professional, very quickly moved into security, working for city government. I spent a few years in the public sector and then spent the majority of my career in the private sector, and spent decades essentially building security programs for highly regulated technology companies. Particularly spent a lot of time on third-party risk. My career has really been synchronized with what we call digital transformation, and this transition from companies dealing with a few third parties to get their job done to nowadays when companies are dealing with hundreds or thousands of third parties in order to do business and compete. And the reason that I founded VISO Trust is really to solve the scalability and data quality issues that I found trying to deal with large numbers of third parties at highly regulated companies. We found that it was impossible to scale third-party security, to accelerate third-party security to the degree that we needed to keep up with the business initiatives and really the need of our stakeholders to bring on third parties as quickly as possible to solve business problems. And so we built VISO Trust, founded VISO Trust in early 2020, really the first of the year 2020, after years of research, filing patents, building models, and interviewing CISOs and security professionals around the country. And VISO Trust, at this point is a platform that uses a unique approach to this growing problem where a team of highly qualified third-party risk experts and a patented AI technology allows us to assess third parties at scale and with a data quality that has been unprecedented so far. So anyway, we're really delighted to be making a difference for our customers today in third-party security.
Fantastic. So what are the major business cases that your solution solves in the eyes of your customers?
Yeah, so we really see two things in the market today. We see companies that have attempted to set up a rigorous process for evaluating third parties that are typically questionnaire or survey oriented. What we find with surveys, unfortunately, is that they yield poor data quality. They're highly subjective on both the company, the vendor side, where they're filling the questionnaires, often with sales professionals filling them with very poor quality information, to subjective analysis on the client side. And what we find also is that there's a number of operational issues with questionnaire-based due diligence. Essentially, as much as 50% of companies won't answer questionnaires today, which leaves your program with gaping holes in visibility, right? And then when they do, oftentimes it takes weeks, in some cases months, of back and forth clarification to get the data. This leads lots of companies to only conduct assessments after they've already signed contracts or very late in the procurement process. And that completely undermines the ROI from a risk standpoint of the entire process. And so we find that companies need greater efficiency, greater data quality, and speed, operational efficiency, right? And so that's what we're focused on. The second common scenario that we see is companies that know that they don't have the team size or the budget to staff up this process and set up a rigorous questionnaire-based process, or they know that their business can't wait for those results. And they've set up essentially what I would describe as a rubber stamp or a check the box approach, where maybe they just collect a SOC report, or maybe they send out, 10 or 20 question questionnaire, and they just want to get it back, right? They aren't really doing any analysis. Now, those companies they're concerned about risk, right? Today, third-party breaches are very, very prevalent. With as much as 65% of breaches the result of third parties, and we see this, all the time. Whether it's Uber, whether it's SolarWinds, whatever it might be, it's a common problem today that all companies face. And so for them, we offer a way operationally to scale this process without growing their team and allow them to get complete visibility of their third-party population at scale and at speed.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think, where do you think the third-party risk as a whole, kind of as an industry, kind of subset, is heading? What are the trends in the business, and what should we expect from you guys in the future?
Yeah, that's a great question, Boris. I think it's becoming more and more of a priority. It's been in the top 3, in terms of cybersecurity priorities for a number of years. But I think it is increasingly getting higher on that list. For many companies today, it's the top priority. It is also gaining more and more visibility at the board level, at the CEO, executive level, etc., where as a chief information security officer, you can no longer afford to not have complete visibility of your third-party population, because your board members, they're going to see when third parties have breaches. They're going to ask if you use that third party. They're going to ask if your third parties use that company, right? So if it's a fourth party or a fifth party. So we're going to see more and more ecosystem information being demanded in this space. For many years, Boris, companies have kind of gotten by with really, a poor quality of information and huge gaps in their visibility. I think widely as a CISO, I've experienced and also, continuously heard among the community that because people believe that there's nothing that they can do about this problem, they really don't invest that much into it. And then we see on the other side of the coin, a very, very large, highly regulated institutions like banks, that sort of thing. They've, incorporated very rigorous processes that have caused them to really slow down their organizations, taking 18 to 24 months to bring on new third parties, right? And so there's this core scalability issue, that's a huge problem. And that's, but what's changing in the industry is you just can't ignore it anymore. The risk is too high, the visibility is there. And so there's more and more demand for visibility. And, in terms of leading the potential for companies to address this demand, we're going to see more and more use of AI, and we're going to see a shift, which our platform is leading, from questionnaire-based assessment to assessment based on artifacts and knowledge that already exists, right? And that is really what is creating the ability for folks to get scale and to get complete visibility into their third-party populations. And so we're going to see more demand for monitoring of breaches, more demand for fourth party, as time goes on.
Fantastic. So let's drill a little bit deeper. So, for example, if we take a life of a average risk manager, if there is one thing that they should start prioritize right now that they are not doing currently, what would it be from your point of view?
Yeah, from my point of view, they need to focus on making sure that their security team and their business stakeholders, those that are responsible for bringing on technologies, are aware of third-party risk and are addressing it in a meaningful way, right? What that means is that every third party that the company is engaged with needs to be assessed from at least an inherent risk standpoint in a highly standardized way that tells the company whether there's potential for significant risk from this third party. And beyond that, any that meet a certain criteria, either from a risk standpoint or perhaps a data sharing or access standpoint, need to have a residual risk assessment and need to be continuously monitored, and in many cases managed in order to meet the security requirements of the company and create a manageable level of risk, right? So I think that's, the key takeaway for risk officers is that you can get complete visibility. You can take charge of your third-party security posture. And it really is something that's expected in this day and age.
Fantastic. I would like to ask you a personal point of view. What is the commonly held belief or major misconception in your field of third-party risk management space that you kind of strongly disagree with?
Yeah, that's great. That's a really great question that you brought up. I think that we meet a lot of skepticism among chief security officers that due diligence reduces the risk of breach, and most of that is because the process has been so haphazard historically, because it is questionnaire based. As I mentioned, the quality of information is such that it's not necessarily meaningful, and so they're right given the status quo, right? Given the status quo of due diligence, but what they haven't thought about usually is that if the process could scale based on artifacts of the security programs that already exist, right, which is things like security policies and standards, documentation that exists at the organization, internal and external, third-party audit reports, penetration tests, all these artifacts that exist, that if these could be examined in a highly thorough, meaningful manner that is based on security frameworks and based on a deep knowledge of risk that goes across thousands and thousands of organizations, that you can derive highly quality information that gives you the potential to make good risk decisions and reduce the risk of third-party breach. I think that is the biggest misconception out there, which is that due diligence can't help us, right? That it's just a checkbox and it's not going to reduce breaches. Well, they're right. If you keep sending questionnaires, you're right, it's not going to help. But if you can find a way to automate and focus on artifacts and do that across entire industries using that knowledge and using AI, you absolutely can.
Mm-hmm. So what's something you or your team have recently achieved? I know you received funding. Maybe you can share with us your approach to innovation and how you are able, what are your plans for kind of coming period?
Yeah, we are. So our platform uses patented first-to-market AI-based technology we call document intelligence to allow any company to be assessed really in minutes, right? And this allows our companies to gain complete visibility over their entire population while achieving a 90% operational efficiency. We also, through recent developments and the scale of our network, are able to deliver fourth-party results, fifth-party, etc., right, on entire ecosystems. We're also able to continuously monitor companies for breach and give active notice to our customers. So these are all really recent breakthroughs. But in terms of when I like to talk about innovation, I actually like to focus on what we're able to allow our customers to do from an innovation standpoint. So companies rely on third parties to do business, right? And behind every initiative for a new third party is a business initiative, that's either going to save a company money or going to make them money, right? And to push them forward and make them competitive. What we do for our customers is free up their resources from this tedious and labor-intensive process, deliver real risk ROI while allowing them to accelerate business. So, from a CIO standpoint, our focus is allowing them to accelerate business while controlling risk. And so we free up resources to innovate in addition to manage risk. And that's really what we're focused on allowing our customers to innovate. And we find that that's who we attract, the companies that really want to move fast while controlling risk, and really want to innovate have been really successful with us. Those are companies like Upwork, like Instacart, and many other customers like Cruise Automation in the automotive space. Companies that need to move fast and are really concerned about security.
All right. So there are numerous tools and services available today to bring cybersecurity in-house. I myself have spoken recently, maybe with 10 companies operating in this space. So how can CISOs determine which tool to choose and which one operation should be in-house and which one should be outsourced, and what should he use or she to what should fit to their needs?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that as a CISO in Lending Club, I was specifically focused on solving this issue with products, right? And my co-founder and I, we really tried everything. We tried GRC tools, which allow you to create complex workflows and to put essentially questionnaires online. But we found that required a really large team, had all the data quality issues that I talked about before. And as much as 50% of the companies that we reached out to didn't respond, right? So that failed. So we turned to security rating services, which use open source intelligence to try and make some determinations about a company's security by scanning, right? And we found that those gave us highly irrelevant, often inaccurate results, and often put our team in a really bad situation where we were inquiring with security teams at other companies on false positive reports, and really wasting everybody's time. So we found that was no substitute for due diligence, and really just did not give us the signal that we needed to make accurate risk determinations. And the last thing we tried was risk exchanges. We thought, oh, maybe these companies have already been assessed. Maybe we can just go and buy those assessments. Well, we found that those assessments were they were just more questionnaires, so they had the same quality issues. We also found that the majority of our vendors did not want to get on those exchanges, so we had to run multiple processes, right? It was not a complete solution, and so this I think what happens with to get back to your question, what happens with risk teams is that they come up with these ideas. Okay, well, we know this won't scale, so maybe we can go with an exchange or a ratings vendor. Or they say, oh, we just need to send out more questionnaires and bigger questionnaires, so they go this GRC path. Well, I think the key thing that security leaders and risk leaders should know is trust your gut. If you're thinking about sending out thousands of questionnaires and you're thinking that might take a large team, you're right. It's not going to work, right? You're not going to get those back. You're not going to be successful in today's day and age. I don't think anybody is looking really at doubling their security analyst staff, right? So that's not going to work. And if you're skeptical about whether you could scan open source intelligence and determine a company's security posture magically, well, you're right. That's you can't, and that's why nobody has. That's why all those tools are out there, but they're not ubiquitous, right? They have not solved the problem. So you need a new way, and you should find those new ways, approaches like ours, and you should try them. A company like ours can demo you in 10 minutes and have you up and running on a production trial in another 5. So find those right tools that are innovating, like VISO Trust, and that bring AI and bring something like document intelligence, which can extract all the information from and get you near 100% coverage of your third parties, and trust your gut.
Yeah, amazing what this AI tools can do. I recently started using this ChatGPT, and I can go with some wording what I cannot do for 2 days. They can do it within a few minutes. So.
Yeah, it's really amazing, isn't it? We, we're highly engaged in those sorts of technologies, and been really excited to see Chat GPT, gaining so much attention. It really helps to, since folks can interact with it directly, it really helps give credibility to AI in a lot of ways, as well as show people what the limitations are, right? And where a human touch is so important. So all of our models are trained by a highly qualified team of third-party risk experts that have, they've assessed, thousands and thousands of third parties, and hold every type of relevant certification, etc. And the human element is really important, right? It's as you probably saw with Chat GPT, you've got to ask your question really well to get a really
Absolutely.
good response,
There is
right? And
No,
yeah, go
ahead,
ahead, Boris.
There is some new job title, AI prompter. He has to put good questions to AI machines.
You are so right. You're so right. If you can, the person who can ask the best question is going to get the best answer. And so the human aspect is only that much more valuable.
Absolutely. All right. So because we are globalriskcommunity.com, we are a community working for risk managers and security managers. So my question to you, how can we as a community better contribute to this complex world of risk?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think continuing to hold people accountable for managing third-party risks appropriately. I think, as a customer, we're all customers of technology. We're all customers of financial services. We're all sharing our sensitive information. We're all dealing with the impacts when that information is leaked or lost, right? And as a customer, when I share data, with a company, I'm expecting that it's entrusted to them and that they're handling it appropriately, and not that they are shipping it off to perhaps hundreds or thousands of third parties that they, have very little visibility into, right? And so what I would say is you have to prioritize this and hold your security teams and your company accountable for getting complete visibility and taking control of your data and your third-party risk.
All right, fantastic. Those were all my questions. Perhaps you would like to add something to our audience that is important if I forgot to ask you a specific question.
No, I think we covered a lot, Boris. It's really been a delight to have the chance to speak today.
All right, Paul, thank you very much for your time today, and I hope we will continue our interviews with you guys in the future. So it's a growing segment of risk management, specifically in AI kind of AI ML sphere. So very important to keep it in our minds what's going on.
Thank you, Boris. I'll look forward to future conversations.
Absolutely, thank you.